Good afternoon, ladies. Today we are going to discuss the most controversial category in the system of the English language, that is the category of the oblique mood. Perhaps you have heard the term conditionals, and you can correlate this item with the process of having your hair being shampooed and the continuation of this process. But that's not really so, since in terms of grammar, it's a different thing, and we're going to tackle this problem today. You may have heard a number of patterns with the oblique mood. For example, if you hadn't read for the examination, you wouldn't have passed the exam and things like this. But the moment you think that you have mastered all the forms of the oblique mood, an odd one can pop up, and it makes you feel acutely embarrassed and highly amazed at the same time. But the good thing is, in the system of the English language, there are only three kinds of the conditionals. I would prefer the term subjunctive, subjunctive 1, subjunctive 2, and subjunctive 3, since this is their traditional terminology. And all the forms we can tackle today. So just at the end of our workshop, I hope and I believe that you will be able not only to recognize the forms, but you feel free to use them in different collocations. So if we're ready, let's get the ball rolling. So the category of mood expresses the connection between the process denoted by the verb and the actual reality. So presenting the action itself or presenting the situation as being real on the one hand and as being imaginary phenomenon on the other hand. And this is the sphere of application of the oblique mood. Traditionally, the following subtypes are discriminated. You can see them on the screen. Let us first give a brief overview of each of them from the point of view of their form, meaning, and use. Let's turn to subjunctive 1. You can see the forms of subjunctive 1. Subjunctive 1 has two forms, subjunctive 1 present, denoting the simultaneity of two actions, and subjunctive 1 past, denoting the priority. Then the meaning you can see also on the screen. I want to specify the sphere of usage. First, subjunctive 1 is used in personal sentences with the meaning of urgent necessity, of command, of insistence. That's why you can come across such words as suggest, insist, demand, require, request. Be sure if you see such verbs in the context that you are to use subjunctive 1 in the continuation. Is that clear? Then, in impersonal sentences, you can also come across subjunctive 1. First, in the meaning of urgent necessity with the phrases such as it is urgent, it is necessary, it is important. And on the other hand, with the meaning of being strange, being impossible, being quite odd. That's why you can come across such adjectives as strange, odd, and impossible in the context. Then, subjunctive 1 is used in objective clauses introduced by the conjunction lest. It's quite a rare thing in the language with the meaning of как бы не. So it unites the meaning of negation on the one hand and the meaning of condition on the other hand. In adverbial clauses of concession introduced by the compound words like whatever, whichever, whoever, and so on. For example, I legitimately demand that each of you come to the lecture on time. Despite the fact that the subject of the construction is in the third person singular, the verb come is used without that s ending, since this is not the finite verb, this is the infinitive. That's why there is no conjugation. Let's turn to the next one, subjunctive 2. Like subjunctive 1, subjunctive 2 also has two forms. You can see it on the screen. That's the form of subjunctive 2 and the meaning. And again, I want to make a special stress on the sphere of application. First, it is used after the construction I wish. Then after the construction it's time. Then after constructions I'd better, I'd rather, I would prefer. The subjunctive 2 is introduced by the conjunctions like as if, as though. And it is also used in subordinate clauses of unreal condition introduced by the conjunction if. For example, I wish we had more time to discuss this problem in detail. Then, Let's turn to subjunctive 3. Subjunctive 3, in line with the subjunctive 1 and subjunctive 2, has also two forms. Subjunctive 3 present, which denotes the meaning of simultaneity, has the form of auxiliary would in combination with the bare infinitive, or with the simple infinitive. And subjunctive 3 past, which denotes priority, has the form which consists of the auxiliary would and perfect infinitive. The meaning you can see on the screen, and again turning to the use. First of all, subjunctive 3 you can come across in the construction introduced by the phrase I wish, then in simple sentences expressing the idea of speculation, in main clauses with the subordinate clauses of unreal condition. If I were you, I would do something. You are sure to remember the sentences like speech patterns, then and in subordinate clauses of desirable condition. Now we are turning to the tricky things about the oblique mood. First, we shall discuss the phrase I wish. I mentioned already that with the phrase I wish, we can both use subjunctive 2 and subjunctive 3. For instance, sentence number 1 introduces subjunctive 2 present. Sentence number 2 introduces subjunctive 3 present. And sentences number 3 and 4 introduce subjunctive 2 past. Now we are to clear out the situation where this or that form should be used. First of all, the choice between subjunctive 2 and subjunctive 3 is based on the timing of the process and on the nature of the verb. For example, if we consider the first example and the second example, we can see the simultaneity. And this simultaneity is underlined by the adverbial modifier now. If we have a look at sentence number 3 and sentence number 4, we can see that the subordinate clause denotes priority. And this priority is underlined by the adverbial modifier at that time. That's why we can draw the conclusion that if we've got the priority, like in example 3 and 4, we should stick to subjunctive 2 past, which is formed by the form of the past perfect. Is that clear? Yes. And if it is simultaneity, we have to analyze the nature of the verb. If the verb belongs to the class of state, like the verb to be, we should stick to subjunctive 2 present. If the verb belongs to the class of actions, then we should stick to subjunctive 3 present. That is the form would come. Is everything clear? Let's consider the following thing. So just the sentence is given, and we've got 4 variants, I'm sorry. Then, who would like to discuss the first one? Okay, will you pass the microphone?
I think the answer is 4, had taken, because we have a construction I wish, yeah, and a priority.
And priority, right here. So just after the construction I wish, we can use either subjunctive 2 or subjunctive 3, but we've got here priority. That's why subjunctive 2 past is the only correct variant. Okay, thank you. Then, coming to the tricky thing is time. The construction is time can introduce first the prepositional phrase like for more concrete actions rather than mere declarations. That's, by the way, the situation of nowadays in our country and abroad, by the way, concerning economic matters, concerning political matters and whatnot. Then, excuse my excursus into the politics. Then number 2, it's high time for the international community to commit itself to concrete actions rather than mere declarations. Here we can see that the construction it is time introduces either infinitive phrase if we eliminate the nominal phrase, or infinitive construction if we use the prepositional phrase for the international community. But I want to draw your attention to sentence number 3. It's high time, or it's time. The international community committed itself to concrete actions, but presently it is still involved in mere declarations. What happens here? If after the phrase "it's time" we have another subject, and here the subject is expressed by the phrase "the international community," be sure to use subjunctive 2 afterwards. Is that clear? So for the use of subjunctive 2, it is essential to use another subject after the construction is time. If it is the pronoun, it should be the form like they, he, she, or whatsoever. Then let's consider the following example. It's high time the kids, then comes the insertion to bed, but they don't seem to get my hands being glued to the TV. Then who would like to discuss it? Okay, Adela.
So the sentence starts with it's high time, and we have another subject, the kids. So that's why we should use subjunctive 2, and I think the right answer is went.
Yes, right here. Thank you very much. Then going further. The next tricky thing is the construction I'd rather. So I'd rather, I'd better, I would prefer, it doesn't matter greatly. So this construction can be used in the direct mood if immediately we have the infinitive. For example, I'd rather spend my time throwing you an ethic birthday party. But again, if after the construction I'd rather, I'd better, you can see another subject. For example, in the cited examples, number 2 and number 4 illustrate the situation, like subject you. Be sure to use subjunctive 2 after the second subject. You see, already in example number 2 and example number 4, we've got the form that corresponds to the second form of the verb. And this is the form of subjunctive 2 present, since we've got the simultaneity in the cited examples. Then, so that's the example for us to discuss. I would rather your friends, then comes the gap, in the garden during our wedding party yesterday. And ladies, will you mind please that there's the adverbial modifier of time, yesterday, which explicitly shows that the two situations are not simultaneous, that the, I'm sorry. Yeah, that the common situation is prior to the first one. That's why will you bear that in mind before discussing it? Who would like to give the answer?
May I try?
Yeah.
Thank you. So the sentence begins with I would rather, and that is why I think we should use hadn't smoked. And to show prior action, we used the word yesterday. Yeah.
Yes, right, right. Okay, thank you. Then, coming to the next one. The tricky if clause. Then, you know, the phrases like, if I were you, I would do something. Then, if the weather were fine, we would go for a walk. They already sound like speech patterns. And we could use that in the main clause. We should use the subjunctive 3, which correlates with the form of would plus simple or perfect infinitive. And in the subordinate clause, they should be subjunctive 2, which is formed by the form of the past simple or the form of the past perfect. And example number 1 illustrates this situation. For instance, we would be very pleased if you sent us your current catalog and quoted your best prices. So what is the meaning of the first sentence? The meaning is that they didn't send their current catalog, they didn't quote their best prices, and we at the moment consider quitting the business with them. So in business correspondence, there is no use to write sentences like this, since the combination of subjunctive 3 in the main clause and subjunctive 2 in the subordinate clause provides for the meaning of unreal situation, and there is no necessity to write about unreal situation in business correspondence. If we turn to example number 2, we would be very pleased if you would send us your current catalog and quote your best prices. The meaning is radically different, since the meaning is that we are open for your projects, we are open for the further cooperation. We are waiting for you to send us your current catalog. We are waiting for you to quote your best prices, and we are just waiting for you to do business with us. You see the point? So this, the meaning is radically different from the meaning in the first sentence. Since the combination of subjunctive 3 in the main clause, by the way, we can exchange them. Then, and subjunctive 3 again in the subordinate clause provides for the meaning of desirable situation, and that's a completely different situation. Now, let's turn to the analysis of the timing of the oblique mood. The timing in the oblique mood is also a bit different. This is not the real timing. This is not the absolute timing. By the way, the absolute timing is understood as relating the action either to the plane of the past or to the plane of the present or to the plane of the future. That's the absolute timing. I do something, I did something, I will do something in some time. It doesn't concern oblique mood, since the oblique mood denotes the timing of the process, but it denotes the timing relatively. It only shows whether the two actions are going on simultaneous to one another, or one action is prior than the next one. Let's consider these cited examples. He knows English as if he were an English born. Then he knew English as if he were an English born. He will know English as if he were an English born in 6 months' time, for instance. Yeah, just in 6 months' time, by the way, it's not possible yet just to speak English, but still, okay, let's imagine. You see the time, the tenses are different. Knows relates to the present simple, knew past simple, then will know future simple. And the same concerns the situations. But the continuations are the same. Since we've got the connection as if, and connection as if demands subjunctive to. Subjunctive to may be present, may be past. Here we've got simultaneity. That's why subjunctive to present is used in all the three cases. In example number 1, simultaneity is expressed in the present. In example number 2, simultaneity is expressed in the past. And example number 3, simultaneity is expressed in the future. Let's consider the rest of the sentences, like he knows English as if he had lived in England since his childhood, knew English and will know. Again, you can see that in the main clause, the tenses are quite different. Present tense, past tense, and future tense. But again, the continuations are the same. Since we've got already priority, not simultaneity, we stick to subjunctive to past. And correspondingly, we've got the form had lived. Is everything clear as far as the timing? Then let's consider the example. Then the chairperson, not the chairman, by the way, yeah? Then demanded that, and then comes the continuation. Who would like to specify the example? Can you pass the microphone to Snezhana?
The sentence contains the verb demand, so here we should use subjunctive 1.
Right.
As here we deal with simultaneous actions, I think that the second one is correct variant.
If it is simultaneity, is it the second one?
The fourth one.
The fourth one, right. Since just the second one denotes simultaneity or priority? Priority, right you are. If it is priority, the second variant would be okay. If it is simultaneity, then simple infinitive should be used. Thank you very much. Then, let's consider one more example. The last but not the least, okay, all right, will you pass the microphone to Nuria? Then will you read the sentence first, yeah, and specify the meaning, or just even you can interpret the meaning through the translation into Russian?
Mom is getting scared lest her kid, and we have the gap.
Yeah.
Мама волнуется, что ее ребенок, и здесь, and here we not, we can't speak actually about is it priority or simultaneity. So we can use...
Since we can translate in different ways,
yes.
Yeah? Just mom may be scared that her kid is getting cold at the moment, yeah? And mom can be scared because her kid has got cold already.
Yes. So we can choose third or fourth variant, because...
Number 3 and number 4. And what about the subject being in the third person? How can you explain? Our subject is in the third person, right? But you have chosen number 3 and number 4.
We use the
sorry.
subjunctive mood, so there is no
Okay,
ending
I
s.
think you remember the example. Just a second, yeah.
So here we are talking about the subjunctive mood, so there is no ending s, so it's just catch cold.
Right, okay. So the modal verb, the auxiliary is omitted altogether, and we've got the infinitive. So, ladies, thank you very much for our cooperation, and I believe this workshop was useful to you from the practical point of view, and we shall continue considering this matter further on during the classes of the practical course of English, during the classes of the translation, and of course during the classes of theoretical grammar when you are fourth-year students, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks a lot. That's it.